doing these fascias and soffits, and the first thing I do is obviously get a nice cozy setup with my planks, and then I take the gutter off. That's kind of, you know, you'll figure it out whether it has screws or nails, but then I cat's paw all these nails out, and then I'll tilt it out and I'll cut the nails up here with my little hacksaw. When you're doing an extraction like this by yourself, I recommend cutting all your nails but leaving the middle one. That way I can cut it and catch it rather than just once I get to that end it just wants to fall. I don't know if you can see that, but the top side of this soffit, this vinyl soffit, is an absolute mess. So I carefully pop this J, and then I have my bag there, and I'll just fill that up all the way, one at a time. So you can see the J channel's loose now, and I can just take these out with all the crap on them and carefully place them into my rolled down bag. Look at that one, guys. That's why we don't just get heavy-handed and tear the whole thing down. So you can see the wavy gravy J channel and F channel, because Beavis and Butthead just nailed their roofing nails tight. So that's why you gotta hit the slot right here and make sure that you don't nail it tight. Otherwise it has no room for expansion in the heat. I'm also hitting the drip edge with some painter's tape, because that's going to help me when I go to secure the fascia, and the gutter guys are going to love it, and they already know. They just got to peel it off as they go along. And look at that, guys. 50 feet of soffit, everything that came with it, a big ass bird's nest, all in a nice manageable bag and nothing on the ground. So I scored both sides of the rafter tails with my knife a couple times, took about 10 minutes. Now I'm taking the planer and I'm just adding a little rabbit or notch, whatever you want to say, whatever you want to call it, but adding a little notch, and you'll see why. So this is why I scored it with my knife. If you look, these breaks actually stop at my knife mark, whereas they would likely split all the way up to here if I didn't give it a quick score. I think it's worth the time. That's an unfortunate situation, but it happened. So that's what it would look like on all of them if I didn't score them with my knife. There it is, all cleaned up and ready for some new material. You can see I got a nice cozy setup so that this isn't really doing that much, but I don't have to get all the way down to then come up over on this side. Okay, so I'm starting with the F channel on the wall, and I'm securing it with these 5/8 washer head stainless. I got them on Amazon for like $17 for a 500 pack, so that's nice and affordable, and I just don't feel like swinging a hammer in there. The next thing I do is make some of these L blocks like this, and that's going to help me hold my string nicely, and it'll also help me hold the fascia when I go to put that on. And they're set strategically where there's one at the end, obviously one in the middle, one at the end, and I'll tack them at the blocks, and then I'll be able to fit a 7/8 inch level at least between each, so I can pick it up to tack it in the middle, because it will sag. PVC will sag even though it's such a short run. And after I tack it with the nailer, I'll chase it with some screws. When you're dealing with snow and stuff, it's always nice to keep your material off the ground and covered with top. And you guys know I love a cozy setup, so this actually is something new that I found out this job, but this outfeed actually just drifts across these plastic sawhorses. And when you're ripping 18-foot PVC and cutting 18-foot PVC, it's nice to have big long outfeeds. All right, so first I drew a line with my combo square, and then I pre-installed this F channel. And that's actually why we notched those rafters, so that when we go to put this up, this F channel doesn't get pinched between the fascia and the rafter. And then on the end, instead of landing on a rafter tail, I'm landing between the bays, and I'm actually putting a big block with a ton of glue, and I got a couple of biscuits there. So this is a super solid joint by the time these things meet up and get all their glue. Once it's up, obviously I pepper the back of this 1¼ stainless brads, same as right here. And the F channel to the fascia is the real reason that I bought these 5/8 washer head stainless. And in case you're concerned if they're pinched, that's a full 12-foot piece, easily moving. And I know this seems crazy, but it came out great on the back, so trust the process. Almost forgot to mention, once you have everything out, you see those nails that are sticking out? You're gonna just need to zip those with the multi with a nice carbide blade. All right, so you can see how nice the blocks are. There's no fasteners in this, it's just holding it for me. And you can see our 2 biscuit slots in here. We landed in the middle of the bays, and there'll be a ton of glue here, 2 biscuits, that'll be a great joint. I don't know if you can see that, but between those two blocks is a tiny sag like we talked about because it's PVC, so that's where we're just going to take our 78, and I can take that sag out of it. There will be a little rock right here, and then I can just, you see the gap right there? I can just push this up until it's perfectly straight, and I'll nail it in the middle right there. I know some of you are probably shocked to see that I had a saw with this crazy tail on the end of it, but it cuts 10 of these boys at once, and that's just super convenient, super quick, and it's one time a year to shine, so I'm gonna take advantage. I have my first piece of fascia in, and because the rafter tails are imperfect, it's obviously a little wavy, so I'm gonna send pluggable screws into every rafter and then take an 8-foot level and work it in and out until it's nice and straight. And then I'm gonna feed my soffit in one piece at a time and click them in. I'm not gonna install any more fascia yet. Otherwise, I'd have to feed them in 50 feet or bend them in. I haven't thought of any other way that's gonna work as well as this. It's been working fine, and that's what we're gonna do. When I say use the pluggables to work it in and out, you send them all the way in, and then you take your felt tip off, and then you can adjust the screws in and out. And it is PVC and vinyl, so it can be real difficult to get straight, but obviously get it as straight as you can, and perfect is the enemy of good, as they say. That's what the joint looks like with the biscuits and glue before we push them together, and then I'll hit it back here with the 1¼ inch stainless brads. There's the back of the joint, all glued and peppered. I got a little finish screw up there, and then you can see the front. And when you get squeeze out with the PVC glue, sometimes I just give it a minute to dry and then chisel it away best I can. Obviously this isn't super flawless clean, but it's gonna be covered by a gutter, so that's all right. I've shown a lot of rake boards, so you guys are all set there, but I don't know if I've ever shown the mitten board. So I basically level over from here, which should be even with the bottom of your fascia board, and you can see my mark. Then you take a measurement here to here, and then you take the measurement from here down, and nothing says that's, you know, a perfect 90 down here. So if you want to go the extra mile, I would recommend getting an angle finder and matching this angle. But then you just cut your triangle, and you can see I got some slots for some biscuits, otherwise it would be floating in there, and we'll glue it up. It'll be all nice. All right, so I got my biscuits in. I couldn't get this last slot of biscuit in because my ladder's in the way for the joiner, but that's all right. We can just slide that up. And it's not as important if your corner board's flush, or at least butts nicely with your rake board. That's why that biscuit's not as important as these ones that are kind of floating. Nice. And that's usually my nail placement. One into the rake board, and then a few into the corner board. You can see we landed nicely on our level mark. We're flush with the bottom of the fascia and flush with the bottom of our rake tail. So there you go. And I'm loving my new 28-foot equalizer ladders. They got the leveling legs. They got a little leveling bubble right there. So I'm sure that, I mean, we all eyeball it, so the bubble's kind of just a gimmick, but super cool. And there it is, all nicey nice. And there's the truck, not even fully loaded. Gotta take the rest of the crap out of here tomorrow. So, not so bad.